Hello everyone, because today I'm going to talk to you about one of the great paradoxes in life. Now there's a guy who I admire very much called Catalyst Yogi, and he says if you come across a paradox, what you want to do is run towards it. Most people run away from paradoxes. This is one to run towards. So here I am. I'm completely surrounded by plants in all directions where I'm standing right here. And the thing about all these plants are doing something so long as it's light. And what these plants do is they take the light which falls on them, and they take the carbon dioxide in the air, and they take the water from their roots, and out of that what they do is they do something miraculous. They create food for us, and this food is so essential, without it we can't live. And the food has got more than one name. The general name people use for this is sugar. So these plants are busy turning light energy into physical food for us and all the animals, and it's sugar. Now if you go into it, this is called photosynthesis, and it's a particular form of sugar called glucose. Glucose is the most ideal form of sugar for the body. So this is where the paradox begins to come in, because what I'm saying to you is glucose, that's a form of sugar that's most desirable to the body, is essential for life. And without it, animals and human beings die. It really is that simple. If you starve an animal or a human being, what kills it ultimately is lack of glucose. So here's the thing, glucose is essential for life, and yet what I'm going to tell you is that we have a worldwide problem, and the world problem is worldwide addiction, and I do use that word very advisedly, addiction to sugar. There's a paradox. Sugar is essential to life. Human beings on this planet mostly are addicted to sugar. The only human beings which are not are the ones that have woken up to the issues of sugar, and those that live in traditional indigenous societies who know better than to go down the road we've gone into. So here's the thing, here's the paradox. I'm going to go right deep into this for you. The real paradox about sugar is this, and it's a big thing to grasp hold of. This thing that's essential to life, we have done something with it which is so harmful, we are literally damaging ourselves as a human race. The human race is in a seriously bad state at the moment. There's what we call degenerative disease. Degenerative disease has been rising for the last 100 years. 100 years ago it was scarcely even existed compared with the levels it's at today. Today it's completely off the scale, and if you look at the figures you will find that cancer, heart disease, arthritis and a whole range of degenerative diseases are at an all-time high. And I want to include mental health issues, insanity. That's all part of the degenerative disease picture. It's really that serious. So how can this thing, which is essential for life, be causing horrific illnesses, degenerative diseases, and causing huge number of deaths? Doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't, because it's a paradox. So we have to go into this paradox and strip away what's going on. When I was meditating in bed this morning to prepare for this film, I was given the clearest way to put it to you. You see, I'm a shaman, and the thing that saddens me and sometimes sickens me about the mainstream society I live in is the laziness. People have become so incredibly lazy, and it's in diet and nutrition that you see this more extremely than in any other way. I've been studying diet and nutrition since I was 11 years old. That's right, I was a little kid, and I became fascinated by food, diet, nutrition, and I've been studying it ever since. And the big breakthrough was when I did my health counsellor's course, and I began to realise just how serious this problem is. I've known this for a very long time. I mostly keep my mouth shut about this because people find it too challenging, too disturbing, too upsetting and too distressing. And this morning I just don't feel that that's going to hold me back anymore. So here I'm talking about this subject. So it's human laziness that's caused this terrible problem of addiction to sugar, which paradoxically is the thing that you need to survive. Without it, you're going to die. It really is that basic. So let's go right into it. Here's the issue. Your body is designed with a digestive system. You know, we have these three centers I talk about: the head, the heart, the gut. So I'm really focusing in the digestive system and the gut in this conversation. Now, the gut has been very cleverly designed by whoever or whatever created us. So what happens is all these plants are full of sugars, every single plant around me, all full of sugars. However, the amount of sugars in these plants is quite small. And in order to get the benefit of these sugars, what we have to do is we have to eat the plants, whatever form of plant we're going to eat. And then the digestive enzymes go to work, and it begins in the mouth and it carries on in the stomach and it goes on in the small intestine. And through the process of the digestion, these enzymes are breaking down the food. This is a natural, normal process has been going on for so long as we've been alive in physical bodies. This is a natural thing. The problem is we have been short-circuiting the process. And if you want me to say, well, where does the problem come? It's simple. The problem comes with the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was when we needed to get lots and lots of people off the land into the factories so they could make money for the bosses. It's that basic, yeah? So when the Industrial Revolution came along, we've got to get all these people off the land, stop them farming. We'll have to have a small number farming so we can keep them alive, but we need most of them to get in the factories and work to make profit. That's what it's all about, yeah? It really is what it's all about. So because of that, what we've done is we have actually short-circuited the digestive process. Now here's the other extreme. So here is a packet of sugar, right? This is actually sucrose. It's almost perfect for the body, not quite. And there's the image. This is the image of the sucrose molecule. You can see what it looks like. And there's the image of the glucose molecule. So the first thing you notice about these two molecules is they're different. The glucose molecule is more simple. So what the body needs is the glucose. Sucrose is very rapidly broken down in the body. So basically, if I make a cup of tea and put spoons full of sugar in it, or I eat a cake that's full of sugar, or biscuits full of sugar, if I do that, what's happening is that is going straight into my body and it's being digested very, very rapidly, which means that the sugar rapidly digested in the small intestine, and even before, even in the mouth, it starts to go into the blood. When the sugar hits a bloodstream, it's a shock. And there's a whole complicated process which has to take place in terms of your metabolic processes and your physiological processes to deal with it. So let's just have this thing. You take a spoonful of sugar and you put it into your mouth, or you drink a sugary cup of tea, or eat a sugary biscuit, whatever. That sugar is quickly going into your body. It's being digested rapidly and it's going into the blood. That means that your blood sugar, and anyone who knows anything about diabetes knows that the most important thing a diabetic has to do is to constantly monitor his blood sugar. A diabetic is a sugar junkie in the ultimate stage of sugar addiction because their body's starting to pack in and stop working. That's why diabetes is a huge worldwide issue, right? So what happens if the body is suddenly flooded with sugar because a person was very lazy and consumed sugar in a form which is easy to digest? The body then has to go into a crisis mode because it can measure and monitor the levels of sugar in the blood, and it's become too high because you ate it in the wrong form, artificial. Blood sugar is too high, body's got to do something about it. So the body has got an organ called the pancreas and another organ called the liver. And the pancreas and the liver work together in harmony and in concert to rectify this problem. If your blood sugar becomes too high, you'll go into what we call a diabetic coma and you will collapse. This is a very serious thing. If your blood sugar is too low, that can happen too. So when the blood sugar is too high or too low, it puts the body into a situation of distress where you could have a really nasty outcome. So the body works really hard, and the pancreas and liver work hard to bring the blood sugar down to a manageable level. This is what it's supposed to do. This is your body working correctly. However, the problem is that when your blood sugar drops because your liver and your pancreas have reduced the levels of sugar in your body, it's had to work hard to do this, and it's actually taken it below this threshold level. As soon as your blood sugar level drops below this threshold level, your body goes into panic mode because suddenly there's not enough sugar. You see, it went too high, so it works hard to bring it down, but as soon as it crosses that threshold level, oh, there's a problem. There's not enough sugar. So if you are automatic and don't know what's going on, you're completely blind and oblivious to your reality, what you will do is you will reach for a quick sugar hit. And it could be a banana, it could be a Mars bar, it could be an ice cream, it could be another cup of tea with sugar in, or coffee, whatever. When you do that, you can imagine what's going to happen. Yes, the sugar is rapidly absorbed in the body, it's digested very fast, and it goes through the roof again. And so you created this horrendous problem for yourself that there's now far too much sugar in your blood. This is the crucial thing. The crucial thing is how much sugar is in the blood. That's what we're always being aware of, right? So then the liver and the pancreas work hard again to reduce the blood sugar level, and it starts to drop. And when it drops beyond the point, beyond this barrier here, as soon as it drops beyond that barrier, the problem has arisen again. So this is the problem of a lazy society. If you go into a supermarket today, you will find you can walk down an aisle which is full of products which contain refined sugar. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. As soon as you go into any shopping centre, you will be bombarded by images of advertising of sugar. So what happens to the person over time, first thing is they wake up in the morning, their body is starved of vital nutrients. This is a vast subject. I'm only just scratching the surface in this particular film. When your body is starved of vital nutrients, one of the things that your body will want to do is it will want to rectify that. And if the body has got not enough sugar in the blood, you'll want to reach for a breakfast. And a typical English breakfast is, of course, it's full of refined sugar. So that's the thing. The person wakes up in the morning, they're depleted of nutrients, their blood sugar is a bit low because they've been hammering it the whole previous day, so they reach for the sugar and they eat this sugary breakfast, and again the blood sugar rises, it gets too high, dangerously high, the liver and the pancreas work to bring it down. Now imagine if this is to happen to a human being in one day. In one day, 6, 8 or 10 times every day, sugar's too high in the blood, it gets dropped, it becomes too low. Imagine doing this all day for a day. It would, just imagine that, it's going to make you feel quite dizzy just the prospect of that. But your body, most people's body, don't experience this for a day, they experience this for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years without a break. Can you imagine how insane that is? And that's the society that you live in. So even if you are not someone who's living like this, everybody around you, this is what they're all doing. So actually you live in a society full of sugar junkies who are all either reeling from the fact that they've got too much sugar in their body, or staggering from the fact they haven't got enough sugar in their body, in their blood, and they're constantly having the liver and the pancreas working hard to try to adjust the situation. When it gets too low, they reach for the sugar. This has been going on for many years for most people. One of the signs that the situation has become critical in the society I live in is diabetes in children. As soon as children became diabetics, and this happened a long time ago, to be honest, it happened about 50 years ago that the first real increase in children with diabetes started to happen. I remember I was a child myself and I heard about these other children, and it was a classic story. A woman is a pharmacist, she's got twins, the twins get diabetes. Well, if someone's a pharmacist, that tells you a lot about them, and a lot about their state of consciousness and their attitude to life and to health and to illness and to culture. So it didn't bode well for those children, because they had a mother who was hooked to a quick fix. That's what the pharmaceutical industry is all about. This film is basically very revolutionary. If you don't want to have a revolution in your life, switch off and stop listening, because this is a revolution in your consciousness I'm providing you with. So when lots and lots of children started to become diabetic, That means there's lots and lots of children who are sugar junkies. I use that word, sugar junkie, sugar addict. And here's the thing I want you to grasp hold of. Now, this was said to someone I love very deeply yesterday, not by me, but by a person whose job it is to give people dietary advice. And we took the journey to this person's place, and this is what he said. So, are you ready for this? 3, 2, 1, go. Sugar is far more addictive than heroin. Sugar is far more addictive than heroin. Sugar is far more addictive than heroin. Now, heroin's a world problem, we all know that. Sugar's a much more of a serious problem. First of all, because it affects far more people. The number of people affected by heroin is that much. The number of people affected by sugar is, you can't even see my arms on the screen probably. It's a world problem. And because it's so insidious, because the advertising industry promotes it so relentlessly, and because it is not possible to go into a shop that sells food without being assaulted by images of sugary things, and I even include health food shops. Health food shops, all they can make a lot of money by selling alternative healthy products in fancy wrapping. This is the thing, if it's in fancy wrapping and packaging, that's a sign it's got too much sugar in. This is a sign it's going to cause a problem for your body. So this is a situation the person gets into because they're on what we call the sugar roller coaster. Too much, too little, too much, too little, too much, too little. Eventually, the pancreas is staggering around like it's just had the hell knocked out of it for years. Can you imagine what it's like for a pancreas? The pancreas's whole job is to keep everything stable and steady in the body. But you, or your friend or your loved one, has been hammering your pancreas for years or decades. Too much, too little, too much, too little. What a job it's had to deal with. And eventually, like, imagine someone is a boxer and they're going into a boxing ring, fighting boxing matches. They don't do it once a month or once a week. They do it every single day for maybe 18 hours a day. That's what your pancreas has been doing. It's been in the boxing ring for 18 hours a day, and it's been doing its absolute best to keep you alive and healthy and functioning. But eventually it starts to pack in. Now, this is what a diabetic is. A diabetic is someone who's abused their body and their pancreas through the overconsumption of sugar for such a long time that it starts to break down and it can't even do its functioning anymore. So everyone who knows about diabetes knows that the key thing is insulin. Diabetics inject themselves with insulin because their pancreas can't make enough of it anymore. Now, this is another sidebar, because actually when people get diabetes, what happens is they become prisoners of the pharmaceutical industry, which is the worst thing that could possibly happen to them. Now, if your pancreas is severely damaged through overconsumption of sugar, the orthodox route is to make you addicted, a junkie, dependent upon insulin. So now you're addicted to two things, sugar and insulin. So you're even more of a mess. Now, here's the thing. Something I learned on my health counsellor's course is we have 7 levels of judgment. Judgment is what enables you to know what is right and wrong for your body and your life and your health. Now, sugar is the #1 destroyer of judgment. So basically, if you want to destroy the judgment of a society of human beings, if you want to have a docile slave race, what you do is you dose them up with sugar, you dose them up with alcohol. Now, alcohol is a whole other subject, and it fits into this paradox which we're discussing perfectly. So alcohol is just as much of a problem as sugar in terms of what harm it does to the liver and to the pancreas. Really harmful situation. So basically what you've got is, over a period of time, you've got these effects taking place. So when it comes to something like diabetes, there are alternative methods whereby you can actually climb out of that hole you've dug yourself. So let's not address this film to diabetics, let's address this film to everyone. Chances are you start the day by eating foods which contain refined sugar. Now, if you're eating any kind of a cereal food, the only cereal that you could possibly eat that won't have sugar would be something like rolled oats, porridge oats. But most people put sugar into their porridge when they've made it. So you can see what the problem we've got right from the start. People eat cereals, they eat toast, and the bread of course contains sugar, that's no surprise. They drink coffee, that's very likely to contain sugar. All these different food substances all cause the same problem. So this is the thing, how we start the day is crucial. Now something I was given as a little saying, the English have lots of sayings, so here's one of our sayings. Breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dine like a pauper. Now I want to get really personal about this one, because you know what it's like with me, I always get personal. So I'm not standing up here telling you I've got it all sorted. I'm telling you I live in a society full of sugar addicts, and that my life has been a story of being a sugar addict and breaking free and getting drawn back in slowly, and then finding myself caught up in that web and then getting out of it again. So my life has been going into sugar addiction and escaping from it and becoming free. I've done this for very many years. So I have the advantage over most people about being much more conscious than most people are. So what I'm doing, and I've been doing it for some months this year, I've really grasped hold of this principle about breakfast like a king. So these days my breakfast takes time to prepare. And what I do is I go for vegetables. So let's really cut to the chase. If you want to nourish your body and keep your body in a good state, your number one food needs to become vegetables. Now, if I was to be dining or having my breakfast eating leaves like this, they contain tannins, there's very little sugars in them. I would actually not get enough food to be able to sustain myself. I would actually starve if I was just to pick all the beautiful plants around me. That wouldn't do it for me. So I'm using mostly cultivated vegetables, which I grow myself or I can buy in the shop or a supermarket. Yeah, that's the main source. And I cook them with coconut oil because it's incredibly healing, useful, valuable oil, antibacterial, loads of properties, look it all up yourselves. So I cook my vegetables. Now I make sure that I've got vegetables which I can digest, and I want to get the sugars out of these vegetables. So I need to make sure that the vegetables I'm eating contain sugars, and my gut is going to have to work to get the sugars out. This is the golden key to the whole issue about sugar. If I make my body work, if I make my gut work to get those sugars, to draw them out, I'm safe. If I put the refined sugar into my body, I've just turned it into a war zone. And I mean, it's a war zone. It's too much, it's too little, that's a war zone. The safe place is where you want to be. So I'm eating vegetables. I'm going to be having things like onions and carrots, because these, when you cook them with a little bit of salt and maybe some herbs and spice, or maybe not, that's up to you, what happens is the sugars start to be released, and there's an alchemical reaction which takes place between the oil and the fire and the salt and the actual components inside these plants. This is actually what happens. It's an amazing process. So for me, as a health counsellor, I know that cooking is alchemy if it's done properly. If it's not done properly, it's about nutrient depletion. So it does depend if you actually know what you're doing or if you don't know what you're doing. And my general advice is don't ever eat takeaways, because this is made by people who are paid badly, who don't particularly want to do that job and have no love for the food. If you know any restaurant or takeaway where you know the chef loves cooking and loves the food, it's cool. Mostly they're paid very badly, low wages. That's not going to make them love their job or love their food, is it? So just use your common sense on this one. So you're starting your day, cooking breakfast, vegetables. Things like carrot and onion, they're available pretty much everywhere. And then whatever vegetables you can get hold of. I love to put pumpkin, I love to put spinach, I love broccoli, I love cauliflower, I love beans, French beans, runner beans, climbing French beans. I could go on. I love loads of vegetables, but what I do is I'll cook some vegetables, courgettes. Love them, love all these vegetables. I'll cook these vegetables, and then what I'll do is that's my vegetable dish, and I will also have something else with it, and this is a bit controversial for the vegans amongst you, because I will actually have some animal food, and I may choose egg, I may choose lamb's liver, there's reasons for that, I may choose fish, or I may choose a plant form of protein like tempeh. So I've got a variety of things, but what is going on with me is I've got the vegetables and I've got some kind of protein from a plant or an animal source, and this is my breakfast. And I've been researching this for several months now, and what I've discovered is because now I'm breakfasting like a king, I set my body up and I don't have to eat for quite some time. So it's incredibly productive. I get up a bit earlier to do this, and I make my breakfast and I can go on about my day, and I don't have an issue about running out of energy. What I used to do is I used to make porridge, and I used to fill it full of fruit and a little bit of honey, fresh fruit, dried fruit and honey. And I used to find after about 2 hours I had an energy dip. So here's the thing. I was actually in exactly the same problem as those other people I was talking about. So here's the thing. I'm not standing in front of this screen telling you I've got it all sorted and I'm Mr. Perfect. I'm not. I'm someone who has had a lot of struggle with this. I can remember a time when I used to work in medical pathology in hospitals in London, and every Saturday I used to celebrate the fact that I wasn't working a full day. I only worked half a day on a Saturday. Saturday afternoon I used to go to a shop and I used to buy a load of what I would call crap. Things in packets with bright colours containing rubbish, chocolate and sugar. And I'd buy maybe 6 or 8 of these things, and I'd go home and I would gorge on them. That's what I used to do. Every week I used to do that. So I'm not someone who's coming at this from, oh, I'm so perfect. Not at all. I've really plumbed the depths of sugar addiction. I know how lousy it can feel. So getting back to my breakfast, so there I was having the porridge with the fruits and the honey. Now that's pretty good. There's no refined sugar going on there. It sounds pretty sound, really. And I'd actually lulled myself into this relative false sense of security of thinking, well, it's pretty healthy. No, it wasn't. And the way I could tell that is about an hour and a half to 2 hours after eating, I would have this dip in my blood sugar. And I need to go and eat something more. Now, I have such a fantastic nutrition these days that what happens, I had my breakfast yesterday morning, really sound nutrition, and then I can go for quite a long time. I'll have some lunch, and in the late afternoon, early evening, I'll have a power drink. This is where I get my super nutrition, and there's a film all about the power drink. You can see the link to it there, and this really allows me to coast through the rest of the day really well. I might have a little bit of my own homemade raw chocolate that may contain the honey, but that honey is balanced by the other nutrients inside the raw chocolate, and that helps. So I can wake up this morning and I haven't even had breakfast yet, as Infinite Waters likes to say on his films. So this is it. I haven't even had breakfast yet because I don't need to come so well set up from the day before. So this is what I want to help you to understand. First of all, sugar is essential for life. Without it, you're going to die. If you have it refined, what you're doing is you're punishing your pancreas and your liver to such a point they will eventually pack up, and you'll get serious chronic degenerative diseases. So what I'm helping you to do is to understand that there's another possibility. So I invite you to breakfast like a king, and no matter whether you like it or you don't like it, try it out, give it a go, see how you feel. What I'm leaving you with is this understanding that sugar is essential for life, and the body needs it in the form of glucose, and that when we refine the sugar, it actually destroys your judgment, which means you don't even know what foods are appropriate for you anymore. That's what a sugar junkie's life is. They don't even know what's right for them to eat. They've lost that connection. It's that serious. So over the coming 3 months, I'm going to take you on a journey, and I'm going to give you all that you need to know to free yourself. And if one of your issues is that you are overweight, please know that through following this journey with me, that will be addressed and that will be solved for you. And please know that if you're suffering from a wide variety of degenerative health conditions, these are all going to improve. We're going to go all the way on this one, and once a week, once every 2 weeks, you'll get another film which will take you deeper down the rabbit hole so you can understand how to make yourself free, healthy and full of life, just like I am now. And just like a lot of the time in my life I wasn't, because I was the sugar junkie. Okay? We can all do it. Thank you very much.